everybody.
And welcome to Manic Pixie
Dream
Women.
That's right, you heard it. We're women.
What? What did you say?
I'm coming in here with a chaotic energy, okay?
I love that for you. Okay, so, well,
What is this, episode 4?
I think this is episode 5. Oh my golly.
Look at
gee.
us.
We're
Wow.
just, we're running through these.
Barreling
We're
through.
burning through them.
Wow.
Well, I guess we should reintroduce ourselves.
Yeah.
I'm Mariah.
I'm Lela.
And this is the podcast where we talk about all things post-grad, entering into the industry, and our favorite movies that have inspired us along the way.
Yes.
Slay.
Well, listen, today we need to talk about something.
Ooh, what do we need to talk about?
Kevin.
Like,
Such a bad job.
well, and with that, I guess we should give a trigger warning.
We need to give a huge trigger warning.
Yeah,
And spoiler warning and trigger warning.
Yeah.
We will be talking about spoilers.
Yes.
In addition to this film, there's a school shooting in it.
Yeah.
So big trigger warning there. So
Yeah.
sites of murder.
Yeah. So take care of yourself if this isn't the
Trigger
episode
warning.
for you.
Ezra Miller.
Oh yes, that's a big trigger warning. Actually, Ezra
Yeah.
Miller.
We'll talk about him later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
We'll just touch on
first,
that. Yeah.
Yeah, why don't we talk about our little weeks that we've had?
Well, let's do
it. Okay. Do you want to start us off?
I
How's
just
your
feel
week
also I
been?
just feel like we have like our like stick like our the whole pole got like cut in half.
Yeah.
And so we're just like, well, I guess we'll work with the tiny one.
Yeah, for those who are listening, we now have microphone stands. I don't know if that will
Thrilling.
help us, but it might make it a little bit easier for us
Yeah,
to
you're looking
edit.
at the cast, crew, producers, directors,
I was going to update my LinkedIn
caterers.
to include Manic
Podcast
Pixie Dream
engineer?
Women.
Yeah.
And I was
That's a
like,
great idea.
what titles will I give myself?
Engineer, isn't that what they say? Podcast engineer.
Yeah,
Audio engineer.
audio engineer.
I mean, we engineered something.
We have a lot of cords behind the computer that you might be able to
So
see.
mysterious and sexy, all these hidden
Ooh.
chords. What's behind here? Peep.
Anywho.
The
Oh
sticker.
yeah, we have a sticker
We have
on the back
merch.
of my computer now. Yeah.
Maybe
Anyone
we'll sell
want a
those one day,
sticker?
so keep an eye
Or if you want one, I'll just give you one.
Well, no, we should charge people.
Yeah. $100.
If you come to me, it's going to be a fee.
If you come to me, I'll
They're
give you
free.
a very big hug. And thank you profusely.
Well, so let's talk about our goals from last week.
Okay.
What was...
Okay, I have to give myself a goal. I go crazy. Whenever you're like, what's your goal for this week? I'm like, yeah, so I'm just going to do this giant thing and then this other giant thing. And then I'm
Yeah.
like, why did I do that to
Well,
myself?
I remember last week, though, it was just, it was such a high because you had finished your
my short.
short.
Yeah. And then I was
And then-
like,
yeah.
I'll write another one and finish editing the first episode of the podcast. You know what? If anyone's going to start a podcast out there,
Warning!
I really enjoy editing. It takes a very long time to edit a whole hour of material. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And especially that first episode, we had like 2 hours worth of material.
We were just cracking up every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
We were amateurs.
Yeah,
Now we're
and-
professional. Now we're women.
I was very spitty, lots of saliva noises. So it's a lot
That's
of me.
changed?
Probably nothing. Absolutely nothing. Yep. That's all I had to say about that.
Remember to swallow away from the mic.
That's what I just did too. Anywho,
Oh, let's talk about spit.
yeah, so I did work today. I spent like 2 hours editing the podcast, but like I got through like 20 minutes of it. So
And that's still a sleigh.
that's still something.
Yeah.
It's still something.
I really need to get on helping.
It's okay. I actually do really enjoy it.
This is great.
And it's been enough time now where I've like sort of forgotten the details of what we've said since I last
Amazing.
tried editing.
So you're like,
it.
ha ha ha.
So I'm like, oh, yeah, I was actually laughing out loud a lot. And I was showing my roommate and my boyfriend, like, just a clip of something you said. And I was like, isn't this hilarious? And then they didn't laugh at all.
Wouldn't you
so-
guys listen to this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anywho.
I'm also like a boomer when it comes to tech sometimes. Like, I'm just like, don't make me do stuff.
Yeah, I feel like I'm
'Cause I will be
halfway there.
confused.
Yeah, I try. I don't know. I get frustrated with technology really easily. That's like the one thing that really.
Very
That is
valid.
actually not just the one thing. That would be a lie if I was
I'm
like that's
covering
the.
the little dude.
Yeah, how dare you cover the slushy
Give
guy?
him his moment.
Do we need to give them
We need
names?
to give them. Well, isn't it Layla and Mariah? Aren't they one of us? Mini
Is that-
Layla, mini Mariah. Is that confusing?
Mini me. They're like our mini me.
They are mini me's. Mariah's is the popcorn. There's a little popcorn, a little icy we've mentioned. I'm the Slurpee.
Hell yeah. For
Yeah.
those of you who don't know, I'm obsessed with popcorn. I eat it almost every day. It's a big part of my
She does
personality.
love a popped corn.
And Layla is a slushy lover.
I enjoy them. Okay.
When's the last
It's
time
more
you've
like
had a slushy?
you're really into popcorn and I'm the other one.
Yeah.
My mom's
Yeah.
obsessed with popcorn though.
Yeah, that's true. And I am your mom. Anywho, I don't really know where to go off with that.
Whoa,
Just a
get
weird
me a
little
little
tidbit.
saucy.
Oh, okay. Take a shot anytime Layla and Mariah make a sexual
innuendo.
Yeah, about each other though.
Yeah.
Anywho, what was
Will
I
they
gonna say?
a real will they won't they vibe?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I just looked over at Mistletoe, one of Layla's cats.
Where is she?
Now something has caught her attention, but she was just staring off, and she looked very existential.
Dude,
Oh,
she does
she's
that
doing
all
it
the time.
now.
No, she just stares at my wall like there's a little demon. She's been doing it for the
Yeah.
past few
Like
weeks.
that part of your wall.
She'll just stare right there, and or she'll sometimes try to like attack it.
Oh my god.
I keep thinking like, do you see a bug? What are you seeing?
Oh my
Nothing ever there. It's so
God.
weird.
Very weird.
She's locked in.
Very weird. Well, yeah. So my goal, back to my goals. It was to finish the first podcast and then to write a short. Girl, stop it. Stop it right now.
Did you do it?
No, I was so busy this week, but in like a very good way, in
Yay.
very productive ways. And I just started my second job as a nepo baby, and so that's been good.
We should do a flash cut there to the first episode where we're like, we're not nepo
Yeah.
babies.
I am a nepo baby, and that was good. I think it's actually really good.
I
for
think
me.
you need to expand on like what it is you're being a nepotism baby for.
Okay, I think I explained.
I don't
want to
get us canceled.
I explained last episode,
It's for a
but for those,
non-profit.
yeah,
so
for those of you
helping.
fake fans out there who haven't listened to every single episode that we put out thus far, I just started a job. My mom runs a nonprofit called the Restorative Center, and it's all about restorative justice. And so she had a podcast a couple years ago, so I'm helping her revive it, and then I'm also doing administrative back end stuff for her. And I will say, like, I do really think my receptionist job is great because it gives me a lot of free time. It's like very chill in a certain way. But it is kind of nice to also have a part-time job where I'm using my brain.
yeah.
Like I feel like more productive because I'm not as lethargic, because I'm not either like working on my own stuff or sitting at a nail salon. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like it's made me feel more energized having something else to do. And so there was that. Now I'm just really going to talk about my week here, which I guess is exactly what we're supposed to be doing right now. But
Do it.
anyhow, I'm going to take you on a journey.
Okay.
Oh my god, that also just reminded me, this week Taylor Swift was named Times Person of the Year.
Yes.
And I was just thinking about that interview because the interviewee was like, she's so good at telling stories. And now I'm like, so shall I be right this very moment? Me and Taylor Swift, we are one. I think I'm losing my mind. I've like been so productive today that I haven't really spoken to a person. So I think I'm just really excited.
You're just
to, like,
unleashing
chat.
everything.
Yeah. But there's been momentum in my short, which I'm really excited about. I had my first meeting with the director last week.
Nice.
And it was very interesting because a lot of it was just like about how are we going to fundraise and like where will we find the funding for this?
I think this is a great topic.
Yeah,
Just in general. How the
for
fuck do you
sure.
find fundraising if you're even making a short film?
Yeah, because I hope she doesn't mind me saying this, but she's been very lucky because the past 3 shorts she's worked on have been people who have money from their families, which good for them.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I am not that person. And so she was honestly, I was like, okay, well, I would love to hear from your experience on how you funded the last films. Like, how are we going to make this work? She was like, well, I'm not really sure.
Two bitches be like, well.
Yeah. And so it's just this interesting thing where I do have, I am lucky in that basically my grandpa, when I was born, set aside money for me to be invested, for me to have access to when I turned 21. And so it's just sitting, still being invested. And so I have like potentially enough money to fund this film. And it was interesting because my director friend was very much like, use it. Use it.
Well, I'm sure.
But I was like, I also want to be able to buy a house one day. You know what I mean?
This is very true. Well, I think too, like, fundraising is just so not fun because it's spending money, and spending money is not fun, especially when you're spending money and theoretically nothing could happen.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I'm like, well, is this going to be something, or am I just going to be throwing away a lot of money? To be fair, I will say that this film is going to be extremely cheap because we're filming it at my mom's house. So we already have a location set, and it's literally just 2 people in one location.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be so easy to make and super cheap, but it is still money.
Can I ask, are you guys planning to pay your, I guess, cast and crew?
Well, so I am half of the cast. I'm not going to be paid. And I think we're really just like not going to try to pay as many people as possible, which sounds really awful. In a dream scenario, I would love to pay every person, but there are some people that you can't really get around not paying, like a cinematographer.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I feel like the attitude has definitely, like, shifted in terms of, like, everyone's like, oh, of course you'll be paid. Like, we'll find a way to pay you, you know?
Yeah.
Which I really admire and I really appreciate, but I think there is still, like, I guess I'm maybe now of the old mind, where it's kind of like, dude, if we're making a short film, I have no money.
Yeah.
You have no money. I'm not expecting to be paid. You know, I'm creating this thing, like, you know, typically you'd be paid for that if you're a writer. Like, this whole thing is just basically meant to showcase me, you, the actors. I don't know. I think it's kind of more of a quid pro quo thing.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't expect to be paid.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so there where I'm just like, I just want to make things and like have something for my reel and like, I don't know, be able to send something to a festival. Like, I don't care about being paid. That's what I have my part-time jobs for.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. So I feel like there are lots of people who feel the same way, but I guess there are some people who feel like, I don't know, I don't know.
So what are you guys planning to do?
So that's the thing. So that's kind of my job. One of my friends, I talked to her about it and like just casually, and she was like, I really would love to help produce it. So I'm going to meet.
That'll be $1 million.
I told her straight up, I was like, we do not have money. She's
Yeah.
like, that would be my job. Don't worry.
Wait, that's somebody's. Oh my God, I always forget producers' jobs are like to find money.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm meeting with that friend on Thursday to talk about that.
Yeah.
It is interesting though, because as this was happening yesterday, I went to a fundraising event that my friend had for a short film that she will be the line producer of. And that was interesting just to go to a fundraising event and like kind of like scope out what other people are doing.
Yeah.
And so it was $18 a person to go. And then there they had a raffle and they had a bar. And so drinks were like, they were super cheap, but you still just had to like Venmo a couple of dollars for them. They had spiked hot cocoa. Smart.
What was it spiked with?
Bourbon?
I was going to guess like a hot toddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that was interesting. And they had lots of different arts and crafts. They had like a painting station. They had a letter writing station, and in a year they'll send them out. They had
letters to Santa.
Yeah. They had board games. And so, I don't know. Have you ever been to a fundraising event?
No.
Yeah, me neither. So that was just very interesting. And it was also nice because then like I got to meet people who were there. So yeah, so that was interesting. I feel like I was really social this week and saw a lot of my friends. And I feel like I say this all the time. The best way to network is just to have genuine friendships.
Yeah.
And so
be cool.
yeah.
If you're a
be
fucking
cool.
loser, good luck, Charlie.
Be cool. But yeah, it's just always nice to see my friends who are also in the industry and
Yeah.
to hear about what they're doing. And like it's not even an intentional way of like, oh, you're in the industry, like I'm trying to mooch off of you, but it's like, oh, it's a nice perk to
it's so nice, yeah, then to become friends with somebody and realize, oh my god, we're gonna mooch off each other, but like in a loving way.
In a loving way. Like it's not icky at all. It's just like your success is my success.
Well, should we talk about how me and you tried to network?
So Lela and I, we also did go to a networking event, and it was just very interesting because we didn't know anyone that was there. And I feel like networking can be like so awkward because like, again, to me, networking is like just being friends with people. And so when it's just like you're thrust into a very professional environment.
I guess, yeah, when it's literally like networking. Yeah, not like, hey, let's get drunk.
And everyone knows that you are literally just networking. That is always...
There's a certain pressure of like, so what do you do? How can you help me?
Yeah.
How will our cross... Whoa, almost a cross path.
When the crawdads
that makes sense.
Sing.
Cross paths.
Yeah. No, but I was gonna say, Lela, I feel like you do a really good job because you're just like yourself. Like you don't
Thank you.
change or mold yourself to be more like corporate or
and
like
some would say this might be a problem.
No, I didn't think it was a problem.
No,
at
it's
all.
not a problem. But
I thought like you're just being a person, and that's the best thing that you can do.
I do feel like I do a good job because even in my last job of like, oh, this person's above me, I'm gonna be just like, hey.
Yeah, which I mean, I'm sure as a receptionist when you're meeting celebrities,
yeah,
like that's all they probably want.
So my week, well, bitch, I saw you. That's about all I did.
Yeah, we saw each other a lot last week, huh? Well,
yeah.
I mean, it was your first official week of the job.
It was my first official week, kind of like alone on the desk, and it's going well. I think it's definitely like I'm in a sort of holiday vacuum right now.
Yeah.
Because we're filming this right before break. And, you know, just business is usually so quiet around this time. So it's not super busy, but I'm content. I'm feeling good.
Hell yeah. Also, do you want to talk about your short story?
Oh. It's going to be so embarrassing if next week I'm like, yeah. So basically, I wrote a short story. Obviously, you know, I submitted it to like magazines and contests. It's a finalist for one.
To be a finalist is really big.
Well, I will say, I did find it interesting. It was rejected from like, you know how things are. Like, they're just par for the course of like, it was rejected from like nearly every other thing I submitted to. And then this one of like pretty high esteem.
Yeah.
Like, it's a finalist. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
It's just weird. People's tastes, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's so subjective, but I think that's pretty slay. And it's you know, the classic thing of like, you'll get 1,000 no's before you get one yes.
Yes. There can be 100 people in a room.
Yes.
But only one.
But it means nothing about you or your talent. The getting rejected, not the...
Don't let it go to your head, Missy.
I mean, saying it was like, yeah, it was subjective, actually. Like, this has nothing to do with you.
I mean, in a way, it can be looked at like that.
But I read it, and it moved me very deeply. I really loved it. So, whatever.
I guess the lesson here, kids, is try everything.
Yeah. But I just even know for myself, like, doing coverage, like, if I'm having, like, a bad day or, like, whatever, that could, like, affect the person. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, literally, like, so many little things that have nothing to do with your work can affect you not getting an opportunity. Like, when I was an intern at Sesame Workshop, it would be, like, we would literally screen to make sure that people were following every precise rule just to, like, be able to remove people because we would get so many submissions to, like, the fellowship or, like... Yeah, so...
This reminds me of what I used to do, like, when I was, like, in middle school and used to weigh myself.
Oh.
I'd be like, oh, well, my boobs weigh, like, probably 5 pounds, and then my head's 20 pounds, and then I just like subtract the importance, like the body stuff.
Yeah.
In a way, we're doing that.
To be a woman.
I'd be like, well, what does
So
that remain,
fun.
actually? Take away my legs. That's
Yeah.
a couple pounds.
Yeah. Honestly, slay.
I feel like that actually is not a bad way of looking at it.
Yeah. Anywho, so that was your week.
That was my week. Pretty chill.
So shall we talk about the movie? I'm very excited to talk about it.
I'm so excited to talk about it. So, to give some backstory on my knowledge of this movie. So, I read this book. So, I remember, actually, I have a really visceral memory. This movie came out in 2011. And I remember being at my mom's house in, like, 2011 and reading the review for it in the People magazine. Because my mom read People. And I remember being like, ooh. I have such a visceral memory of, like, that's how I first heard about it. And then I read the book when I was older. Loved it. One of my favorite books of all time.
Oh, wow.
And then I watched the movie, and at first, I remember being, like, so disappointed with the adaptation because basically the book is a diary of sorts.
Yeah.
And it's so dense, so rich, so detailed of this character. And then the movie is, like, mostly silent almost.
Yeah.
And so I was like, where is it? What are you talking about? But that's because I was a girl. And now I'm a woman.
Yeah.
And so I would argue even before, like, maybe it wasn't one of my favorites, but I really liked it. And now it is genuinely one of my favorites after rewatch.
Very interesting.
I need to know. This is like, as soon as I rewatched it, I was like, I have to ask Mariah this. What did you think of John C. Reilly? Wait. I should give a plot summary.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to talk about Kevin. It basically revolves around this woman, Eva, and her son, Kevin, and like the little family of, it's like a unit of 4 she's got going on. And just from the moment he's born, you know, she does not like Kevin. He's a little shit.
He is a little shit.
Kevin then grows up and he commits a mass school archery.
Yeah.
He uses bows and arrows to, like, kill people.
I was very intrigued by that choice. We can get into that in a little bit.
Yeah. And then it's revealed that, like, she's, like, the aftermath. It takes place in the aftermath of that event when she's living on her own. And Kevin's in jail. And so she visits Kevin. And because also Kevin killed her husband and other child, her daughter. Anyway. So the main character is played by Tilda Swinton, who does amazing.
Slime.
And her husband is played by John C. Reilly.
Yeah.
Noted comedic actor.
Yeah.
And I need to know what you thought of that.
I mean, like, nothing. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary for me.
Was it like a jump scare?
It definitely was a little bit of a jump scare.
Like,
I mean,
what is he doing
I'm
here?
mostly familiar with him in Chicago. And so it kind of was giving Chicago.
Like the
musical?
He's in that?
Yeah, he plays Roxy Hart's husband.
That is so random.
He sings Mr. Cellophane.
Okay, I've not seen Chicago, so.
Okay, yeah.
I've seen that one clip of, like, Cell Block Tango on TikTok.
Okay, yeah. So he does have, like, some more serious moments in that movie where he's, like, sad. And, like, it's kind of similar because he's, like, the sad, like, husband in both.
Well, this one, the role is definitely, like, a kind of, like, all-American dad kind of.
Oh my god, I wanted to kill him.
Kind of goofy vibes.
Yeah,
still.
but I hated him.
Yeah.
Because he was well, not intentionally, but he was like gaslighting the fuck out of Tilda Swinton.
Did not believe her. Well, you know, okay,
She's always so frustrating.
And also because Kevin, whenever his dad came home, like with his mom, he'd be one person.
Yeah.
And then with his dad, he'd be like, "Hey, Dad.
Yeah.
That's so cool. What are you doing?" Yeah, so it was like that's why, like, it was definitely like Kevin was complicit in the gaslighting.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even as a baby, it was
even as a baby
screaming his head off, and then the dad would come home and he'd just be like, "Ooh, I'm a little baby."
Yeah. Okay. So what else do you think about it?
Okay, I feel very mixed about this movie.
Okay,
I'm gonna be honest here.
Yeah.
And again, I have not read the book, so I feel like it's just it must be such a different experience. Because we have a copy behind Lela.
Definitely recommend. We'll talk about it in a minute too. Yeah. I want to talk about adaptation.
And even sifting through it, I could tell like, oh, there's just so much we can't even just get from this 2-hour-long movie.
Yeah.
It made me deeply unsettled, which is what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
For sure. But I think for me, which I'd love to get into, is I was just having a hard time wrapping my head around what the message of the movie was. And I feel like I remember freshman year, not to really take it to like an academic place, but like we have to take at NYU this class called writing the essay. And we had this whole section of this class about pain in art and desensitization.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we did talk about like just general violence in movies and media, but I feel like we also specifically talked about like school shootings.
Mm-hmm.
And I even remember there was this one assembly we had where I think we had to watch a movie that had to do the school shooting or something, and someone like literally got up and was like, I don't want to watch this, like how dare you not give a trigger warning about this, and like was super like mad. And so I think that like in America, obviously it's such a prominent horrible I was gonna say horrible and then I was gonna say horrifying anywho like thing that's so present in our culture. And so part of the movie I was just like, I don't know if I'm vibing with what I feel like it's trying to tell me.
What do you think it was trying to tell you?
It was like her making up the bedroom for him at the end and her hugging him at the end, and he's like, I don't know, you know what, 2 years ago I feel like I knew why I did this, but now I don't. Like I felt like in the end we were supposed to like he was supposed to be more of a human rather than like the monster we had watched him be since birth. And I don't know if I vibed with that, but then at the same time, in the opposite way, I didn't really know if I vibed with this notion of like school shooters like are just like, you know, it's like the nature versus nurture thing of like, oh, Kevin was just evil from like conception, and so that's why he did this thing. And I feel like it's obviously so much more nuanced, which I'm not saying art has to like cover all the bases, but I don't know if it really spoke to me in that regard, if that makes sense.
I think for me it's like not even about the school shooting at all. Like it's such a, I know like it's kind of the reason that like, you know, Kevin's in jail and it's like why she's dealing with all this stuff. But and I think this is all colored too by me reading the book.
Yeah.
But especially because like I think if the director, Lynne Ramsay, I think if she was trying to, you know, make more of a statement or like any sort of point of view on school shootings, I think she would have showed it more and also like made it, I guess what it is, the book is not about a school shooting, really. You know, it's about the wife, the mother of this child, who in the aftermath of that event is looking back on her whole life with him. And I guess I did think it's really interesting, like, I think it's a perspective the media, I guess, hasn't explored of, like, you're just, like, his mom.
I did think, to jump in.
Yeah.
It was incredibly interesting seeing, like, everyone else's reaction to her just existing after the shooting, and that, like, created mystery.
Archery.
What?
It wasn't a shooting.
It's a shooting of an arrow. But, what was I gonna say?
I did appreciate there being a fucking gun debate in that movie, though. Just
I guess, but, like, it was an interesting choice.
Well, so, if I could illuminate on
please.
that. So, when he's sick, if you remember, there's a scene where he's sick. And she reads him Robin Hood. And then he starts becoming into, like, archery.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of in the book, it, like, said as, like, a last fuck you to, like, his dad. Kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's why he chose archery. And also, it doesn't show this in the fucking movie, but what he actually did is he, like, locked he took like the people who were the best at something or like had the biggest passion. It was like 6 students or something. So it was like the top of the drama club, the star quarterback, the top cheerleader, and he lured them into the gym.
Yeah.
And also a teacher who was like trying to help him.
Yeah, I guess.
That's who it was. It was people who were like good at their things and had passions.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because like obviously the movie doesn't go into any of that.
No.
Like we really have no like it feels like in the movie he's just doing it to spite his mom. And like he somehow knows that this is gonna cast a shadow over her and she's gonna have to live with this the rest of her life, and with her husband and other daughter being dead. Like,
yeah.
I don't know, it felt like very vengeful towards her.
Why do you think he didn't kill her?
So she would have to live with it. That's what I'm saying. Like in the movie, in the context of like their relationship, it felt like
inflicting the most pain on her.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what's funny? Just after having read it and stuff, I don't think that's why he did it. I think he was actually purposefully like sparing her.
Oh.
Because in the book, and it's so annoying that it's like, I mean, it's so, you have to read it. I recommend everybody read this fucking book. Especially like with like kind of in conjunction to the movie. Because something she says a lot is that like she felt like at the end of the day, she understood Kevin in a way that nobody else did, and she saw his true self. And like same with her, she talks a lot, she ruminates a lot about like how she's a selfish person, blah blah blah, like how it shows itself in her. And so there's a weird sort of kinship between them, which I think too is like why she hugs him and why she makes up his room, because she's like, you know what, we're fucking stuck together. There's no other, like, what am I supposed to do? And like I think in a way too she's performing, because like truly what is she supposed to do? Like give him up for adoption? Like, you know what I mean? She's bound to this creature almost. I think she felt like since he was born.
Yeah.
And then is like, it's just us now, you know?
Yeah. I feel like the movie doesn't really show that. Like it's like so much more. It just felt like everything he did in his life was to like get at her and to like bother her. And so this was just like the culmination of it. So I don't know.
Maybe.
But I do think that like it is an interesting thing and just an interesting perspective on motherhood and like the responsibility. Like I loved the gender stuff in it of like the responsibility of a mother and like how the husband was just not believing her at all.
Yeah.
And even just like, why is this woman being held responsible for something that her son did in such a like violent, crazy way of like throwing paint at her?
Yeah.
Ruining her eggs.
Smashing your eggs.
Yeah.
Metaphor.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's definitely very interesting. And I think that like what I was having trouble with was there's that whole monologue that he has when she's watching him on TV where he's like,
yeah, people
are watching me because of what I did. Like,
yeah,
if I was like a grade A student, they wouldn't be watching me. And I feel like I was like, this is an interesting thing that he's talking about this, and yet I feel like the reason we're watching this movie is like because there's like this yearning in us to like see this gross, awful thing, and we know that it's coming, and like,
yeah, true.
What does that mean? Like, it kind of contradicts itself in a way, but also proves its point. I don't know. I was like, if the point is that like, oh, we're watching this movie to like for the spectacle of a school shooting, and yet it's not really saying anything about a school shooting, then like
I think that's on purpose.
I know, but I feel like it's
because I think it's because Kevin doesn't actually know. I think it's because Kevin is still performing. He's playing up the role of like, you know, that's a very common thing of like, I'm famous now. You all are watching me. Like blah blah blah. Like I'm gonna be in history books or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
And then as soon as he's like, so that at the end he's told he's going to federal prison, like, you know, adult prison. And that's why he's like, he's scared.
Yeah.
And I think it's all just I think that part of it is a big performance. I think it's all a big performance.
Right.
Because, I mean, I think Kevin, at least certainly in the book, like, he's definitely like hits all the things of like a psychopath.
Yeah,
like he's definitely a psychopath.
Yeah.
And psychopaths don't feel anything.
Yeah.
So like he wouldn't feel like joy at like, you know what I'm talking about? Like it's not like he's like, I'm happy I did this.
Yeah. I just mean like the book was written in a response like or inspired by the Columbine shooting, right?
I don't know.
I think so, is what I saw online. And so I feel like obviously like a school shooting is such a major part of this, and yet it felt like it was only a plot device. It wasn't actually it wasn't actually doing anything about that or saying anything about it, which is okay. I just feel like, I mean, obviously the book was written in 2003, and now there's even more of a crazy history that we have as Americans with school shootings.
Yeah.
And so it's just interesting to watch it now because I'm like, this makes me feel icky in a way where I'm like, I don't know.
Well, I do think, though, the school shooting is a plot device to, I think, if I had to guess, the author, like, it's such there's so many complex relationships and emotions behind it.
Right.
That I wonder if it was just a way she was like, this is a really interesting, like, you know, I want to study this mother. You know what I mean? What would it be like if someone grew up with this person as their son?
Right.
Like, if this was like this.
Yeah.
And then having to deal with it afterward. I think just in general, it's just, I find it such an interesting, I think the author did such a great job at crafting such a complex relationship between mother and child.
Yeah, for sure.
Because she has another child.
Yeah. So why is this one of your favorite movies? Like, aside from the book.
Okay. I think the cinematography was so gorgeous.
Yeah.
I thought it was so effective and so efficient, and which makes sense because she's also, the director is a cinematographer. So I'm like, well, duh, that makes sense. Like I think it said something that she'd done a lot of music videos before. Okay, and I was like, this makes sense to me. Because a lot of it seemed like very like one image that summed up a lot of story.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated that. I also think, so from having read it, like I said, I was like, oh my God, it's like silent now. Knowing how difficult it must have been to adapt this and how she did it. Like, I love, like, you know, now catching that, like, the way she, like, interlaced, like, what is it, pre-lapped, like, audio over moments that, like, weren't actually happening.
Yeah.
Seemed to me, I was like, okay, this is the way she's doing it, the way she's telling a story of, like, okay, now we're going to cut to them being young and deciding to have a kid or whatever.
Yeah, I loved the way they worked with memory and the shifting time.
Very pretty colors, all that red.
Yeah, that was literally, I think, my first note. It just says color.
Yeah.
The red.
Well, can I also say something that I wish they had put in?
Yeah, please.
So at the end, that end scene with Kevin and his mom when, like, he's like, I'm scared, whatever. In the book, he gives, I think it's the end. It might be like an earlier scene. I can't remember now. But he gives his mom, so there's a scene in the early movie where it's implied that, I also want to say, I've cut myself off like 3 times, but the book is so much clearer being like, yeah, Kevin did this stuff, as opposed to like the movie's kind of like, it doesn't show Kevin doing the stuff. It just shows, like, the mom being like, I know it was Kevin.
Yeah.
But the book makes a kind of clear stance of, like, it was Kevin.
I haven't read the book.
Yeah.
I kind of like that it was a little ambiguous, even though we, like, knew it was Kevin.
Yeah.
Because then it was, like, we were so with her.
Yeah.
But then it was, like, oh, but we can't prove it in the way that she can't prove it, like with the guinea pig. Oh, God.
Well, so I was going to say, the scene when he blinds his sister, he, like, pours drain cleaner in her eye, and so she gets a glass eye. I don't know if we see like her eye, I don't know if you can tell, but her eye is gone.
Yeah.
So she gets a glass eye, and at the very end of the movie, he gives his mom the glass eye. Like he took it out.
Ew.
I know. But it is so funny because in the same way, it's like, that's him. I felt like almost like trying to, like make amends, or like he's giving her something, which is crazy. But like, it's just interesting that that wasn't put in there, because I found that moment so powerful.
Yeah.
Because also in the book, and this is going to spoil the experience for people, but like, I feel like I should comment on it. The book is addressed to as like diary entries to Franklin, her husband, and she only ever says separated or estranged. So the entire time I read it for the first time, I thought they were just divorced.
Yeah.
And like after this, they were just divorced, and like he took the daughter.
Yeah.
So at the end, when I was like, holy fuck, Kevin fucking killed them, they're dead.
Oh.
It's such a shock. At least I don't think it's that. It's much more obvious like once you read it once.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting thing where I was like, I didn't expect when I was reading it.
That's cool.
Because it's free, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. It's like, I'm thinking with the moment when she comes back and she finds them.
With the curtain. I love that shot of the curtain.
The curtain was cool.
I do really love when they're talking about the daughter getting a glass eye, and he like peels the lychee, and then he like eats it, and it looks like an eye.
Yeah. It was very deliberate.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, I'm sure this is because it's an adaptation, but I really loved all of the details. Like, even just like him making his jam sandwich with way too much jam.
Yeah.
And then later on, we see her eating it, and like, ooh, I don't know. That's crazy. Yeah. And he even, when they go to dinner together and he starts like balling the bread.
Yeah.
Making balls of bread. Like, just like little things like that. Him peeling off his fingernails. It's like so visceral.
He's
and
like
gross.
putting him down.
Yeah, like there's just so much, like all the characters are so clearly thought out, and I did really appreciate that. Yeah. There you go. Did you want to talk about adaptation now?
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, because so much stuff is adapted. I don't think most people even realize how much.
Yeah.
It's literally like almost like as soon as a book is sold, like not like sold in the store, but like the manuscript is sold, it's immediately like, do we want this? Can we option it for film or TV? Podcasts, news articles. I mean, it's just like,
someone say podcasts.
Oh. Let's make a movie about this. Yeah. But and it's not really surprising, I think now, because so much of it is IP, intellectual property. But it pisses me off a little bit when I watch something and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. How does somebody come up with this? Gosh, like how can I ever be that amazing of a screenwriter, of a director? And then I read the fucking source material and it's from the author. And I'm like, you fucking phony.
Yeah.
Specifically, I felt this, I will say. I saw Oppenheimer. As a lot of the world did, obviously. I loved it so much. I saw it 3 times. It is one of my favorite movies.
That's crazy.
Now.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Slap.
It's actually the script. I bought the script. It's right behind me. And so I decided after watching it to read the source material, which is a book called American Prometheus. Won the Pulitzer. It's a thick book. So I'm reading. So Oppenheimer, I think, like, we can all agree, has some great lines.
Yeah.
Like some insane, like, you're like, wow. Great lines. Great writing.
Yeah.
I'm reading this book and I'm like, that's in the movie. So much is just like in the movie, which makes sense. Obviously, he's adapting a book. Why would he not? And there's a lot to be said for like adapting in general, of like how to condense stuff, and it still is an insane skill. I'm not trying to take away from that. But just like the way it's conflated, I'm like, dude, like even another great example, Jurassic Park. Also one of my favorites. Also behind me. That's a movie that Steven Spielberg is like, rightfully very like acknowledged as that's his, and like it's amazing, and there's so many great classic lines, which some obviously are from him and like from the writer on set, etc. But you read the book and so much of it is Michael Crichton's words, the author. And I'm like, where's Michael Crichton's flowers?
Yeah. No, I totally feel that. I'm trying to think right now because it's not going to come to me, but I had that same thought where like I think I watched a movie and then I realized it was a book and I was like, well, why didn't I know? I could have read this first. And I feel like it is really frustrating when, like, I mean, I think this all the time just in movies in general, when directors are given, like, every accolade ever and are, like, praised to the gods, and then screenwriters are given absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
When I feel like, well, if you didn't have the screenwriters, we'd have absolutely no movie.
Where would your job be?
Yeah.
What would you be directing?
Yeah.
Nothing.
So I just think that's always just an interesting thing, but it's even more frustrating when it's like you're actively taking all of the words from another source. Like, I really love Sally Rooney's books, and it was so interesting because have you watched Normal People?
I've not.
I watched like a handful of the episodes, but it's literally like every line for the most part is exactly the same.
Okay.
But the problem is, I think Sally Rooney does such a good job of, like, describing in such great detail the character's thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I don't really want to watch this because, like, it feels like half of what the book is.
Well, some things are meant for a certain medium.
Yeah.
Like, that would, like, you know, that's a book. That's, like, if you want to get into that stuff and, like, the thoughts of them and have it make the most sense and be displayed the best, should have probably just stayed a book. You know what I mean? We don't have to turn everything into a fucking movie or TV show.
Yeah.
Some things are not suited for it.
Is there any adaptation of a book that you think is better than the original source material?
Ooh.
Because I feel like there must be
Okay,
something.
well, like, Oppenheimer is more entertaining because it's, like, nonfiction.
Yeah.
You know?
That makes sense.
Took me, like, 2 months to read.
That makes a lot of sense.
But
I'm trying to think. I honestly can't tell. I mean, I will say,
I'm, like, looking at my shelves because half of it's adapted. Hey, 2001, we'll get to there. That's a book I read.
oh, I actually haven't read the book, so that's interesting
Yeah.
because that's one of my favorite movies.
I really do like reading, like, book movies, like, reading the book first or reading the book after. I tend to like rounding out that experience. I think even just to learn or to see how they're doing it, because it does seem challenging. But, like, again, the lines are there.
Yeah.
Which is why I was like I remember sitting in Oppenheimer thinking, golly gee, how does Christopher Nolan do it? And there's a lot of examples where, like, in Interstellar and stuff like that, where, like, he is just, like, really good at his job.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm watching Oppenheimer specifically, and I'm like, I'll never be able to think of a line like that. Like, how could I compare? And then I read that fucking book, and I'm like, some guy just said it. You know what I mean? Like, some actual people, like, that's just how people spoke in, like, 1952.
Yeah, damn. They were really
Eloquent. They were.
and explosive.
Ooh.
Okay, anyway. I was going to say, I feel like the first Hunger Games movie is super similar to the book in all the good ways.
Pivoting to Hunger Games.
Okay, here's the deal. Here's the deal. We're pre-recording this, as we've said a bajillion times.
Yeah.
The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes has just come out. Have I watched it? No spoilers. Anyway.
Hopefully you've seen it.
I will have seen it. I
time
definitely
that
will have seen
passes.
it. So I thought it would be really fun for me to read through the original trilogy and then read the prequel before I see the movie. And so I'm having such a fun time because right now I'm reading Mockingjay. So I've read the first 2 books and watched the first 2 books. Movies. I can't speak. Anywho, the first one I think does an excellent job. And I think it's a really great movie. It's actually super cinematic, but, like, not in, like, it feels more like almost like an indie movie.
Okay, I feel like we could compare the trajectory of the Hunger Games series to the Twilight Saga.
Yeah.
Like how the first one feels like super kind of home, like, low budget.
For sure.
Yeah.
But then the second one, I think I love Catching Fire. I love it. But what I love most about the books, which Lela has heard me talk about so many times, is Peeta and Katniss's relationship, and just I think the love triangle
She stands
is so
penis.
I do.
Yeah,
I do. But it's just so it's so detailed, and, like, you really, I feel like even in Catching Fire, I'm like, I don't know who to root for, Gale or Peeta, and you just watch her relationship with Peeta evolve and open, even in the first book. But in Catching Fire, he's just, like, there, and Gale is just, like, there. Like, I feel like because you don't know Katniss's thoughts, it's just so hard. It's just so hard.
Well, and also that's the director making a choice too, because the director is, at the end of the day, it's subjective witness of the material, and is like, okay, well, how do I want to tell the story I want to tell?
Yeah.
What am I focusing on? And he probably was like, I don't really care about the romance that much. I'm assuming it's a man. Am I wrong?
Yeah. Well, I mean, also, that does also come down to the screenwriters who are adapting it.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Suzanne Collins helped write all of them as well. She got her MFA at Tisch in dramatic writing. So there you go.
Interesting.
Yeah. She was a children's TV writer for a
Example
while.
of somebody who went to books.
Yeah.
And back.
There you go.
Although I can't think of like standalone film TV.
She was a children's TV writer.
Got it.
So I don't know if she has written any movies.
Why would she?
To.
If I were her, I would be in Italy.
Yeah, literally living the dream.
Yeah.
But what was I saying? Yeah. So it also comes down to them of like, and I guess the studio of like, what do we want to? What's the most important part of the story that we're telling? And it's just hard to condense a book into 2 hours. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But yet we keep doing it.
So it can't be that hard. Okay, I'll tell you what must have been hard. So I've the two examples I've been using, obviously Jurassic Park and Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Those must have been hard to adapt because Oppenheimer, 700 pages. And it's also like it's a whole man's life from like start to finish.
Yeah.
And Jurassic Park, full of like science. Like Michael Crichton's a fantastic writer he died. He was great at like teaching you about like scientific properties.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I learned a lot through those books. But so that's another thing, like how do you describe that to like a commercial audience?
Yeah.
How do you translate that? But most of them have like the authors on set and they work heavily with the authors.
Yeah.
Like I know Christopher Nolan worked with Kai
John
Bird.
Green. Sorry. Lela's like Oppenheimer, and I'm like The Fault in Our Stars. Great.
Mariah's in 2012.
Yeah, what's wrong?
Something happened.
I'm reverting. Whoa, this is bad. Something's happening to me.
Something happened.
No. My parents actually did get divorced when I was 12. So fuck you.
Jesus. I was about to say, like, just watch. That's totally a formative year for her.
Yeah.
And that's why that's the tip top of your list.
Anywho.
The impact movies have, guys.
I really found a lot of peace. The Fault in Our Stars.
Okay, well, we can briefly touch on The Fault in Our Stars is not a good adaptation.
Okay, I haven't seen...
The movie is, like, not nearly as good. It kind of flopped, and like, the reviews were not great. It's just, like, there's certain things that come across when you're reading a book that I guess, like, aren't even as cringy. Like, let's talk about the famous moment when, the line of, like, you put the killing thing in between your teeth, but you don't give it the power to kill you.
Yeah.
A metaphor.
Yeah.
Anyway. But so when you're reading that, you're kind of like, whatever. But then when you're watching somebody say that, you're like, oh, wait, does that even make sense? Like, you're like, it's such a different experience that it kind of also reframes the words to where they might not be as successful.
I love him.
Yeah,
I love John
so
Green
she was a
so
fan.
much. I love John Green.
No, I liked reading those books, but like in 7th grade.
I was supposed to go to Amsterdam last spring.
Were you going to kiss in the Anne Frank house?
Well, I did to prepare. This is actually a funny story. It's really messed up, actually. So I was going to go to Amsterdam last spring.
Did you write Anne Frank would have been a believer?
No. I went to the Strand and I was like, went to the help desk and I was like, hey, can you help me find 2 books? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, so the first one's going to be The Fault in Our Stars.
Second one's going to be The Diary of Anne Frank.
Yeah. I was
she sighed. I was like, oh, we have a 5th person.
She was actually really chill about it, but my boyfriend, John, was like so embarrassed and
I would have
so
spaced those
mortified. Out. Yeah, I mean, I was just like, she must know I'm going to Amsterdam, right? Yeah, and then I got halfway through The Fault in Our Stars, and then I had to go visit my grandma. Shout out to last episode, the farewell. She didn't die. She is still with us, which is great. Love you, Grandma. It's a heart.
Mine's dead.
My other one Is your
Both of
are
mine.
you're dead. Well, sorry.
Yeah, leave a like if your grandma's alive, and leave a comment if both your grandmas are dead.
Okay.
Well, so should we? I feel like we need to talk about too.
Okay.
Ezra Miller. I'm sure some people watching or listening are kind of like, well, why would you watch a movie that has, a person who has done bad things?
Yeah.
And like, why would you support / endorse, I guess, by talking about a film that they were in?
I find it different when it's an actor who is not the main role in the film.
Yeah.
I mean, he is Kevin, but Tilda
To be fair, also,
Swinton.
Kevin's like gross.
Yeah, he's awful. He's literally, Ezra Miller, it seems,
Like-
is playing themselves. Like,
Yeah.
literally.
Like, Kevin's the
Um,
almost said the victim. The villain.
Yeah, bro. But also, like, we're watching it on a streaming service. So what money does anyone get?
Yeah.
Does
Well, I
Ezra-
think so, too. I wanted to say, like, when we made the list of our favorite movies and we were going through them, it quickly became difficult to find a perfect 10 of our favorites where someone involved, whether that be an actor, director, writer, producer, production company, financier, that wasn't terrible in some way or hadn't committed a crime or other stuff.
Yeah.
So at some point we just kind of gave up and we were like, well, it's going to happen eventually. And I think it says less about us and more about the culture of film and about how there's still insane protections in place for anyone with fame or talent. And the fact that it's so widespread that, like, we can't even find, like, I think it's mostly mine. It's mostly my list that has the cancelable people. That, like, what does it say about the industry where, like, it's permeated everywhere?
Yeah.
It's like, it's not like, because, like, I was watching Bridget Jones's Diary today. First time.
Slut.
Cute. And, sorry, I started thinking about Colin Firth and now I'm distracted. He is so sexy. So something happened when I turned, I'm turning 25 soon, but something happened when I'm nearing 25 where I was like, whoa, all of a sudden Colin Firth is fucking sexy as fuck.
That was a jump scare hearing you say.
Yeah, imagine how it is imagine how it is turning that, bitch. Anyway, well, because I was watching Bridget Jones's Diary and the Miramax logo obviously comes up, famously created by Harvey Weinstein and his brother.
Yeah.
He's like, ooh.
Yeah.
So it's like, is it fruit of the poisonous tree if I, then consume media produced in some way by Harvey Weinstein? It's just like, it's such a slippery slope of like, where's it coming from?
Yeah. I mean, we have said that we will have this debate.
Yeah.
A full on in-depth.
Well, debate. I honestly think though, like, we could do a brief thing because like mine is not that, I'm not that attached to my idea of it. Yeah.
I'm very attached, which is why I do kind of feel like I would like us to have more time to discuss.
Okay.
Not because I'm like, not in like a debate, but just like to talk about it. Because I feel like there's so much to discuss and it like can't be pared down to like a quick thing about Ezra Miller. Yeah. Here's the deal with Ezra Miller though. Like, obviously with The Flash, like, I'm not going to go into the theaters. Did it already come out or is it about to come out?
The Flash has been out and it flopped.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I feel like it's so different. Like, it would be a statement for me to go support The Flash while it's in theaters.
Yeah.
Versus watching We Need to Talk About Kevin.
That makes sense.
Peacock. You know what I mean?
Was it on Peacock?
Yeah.
I rented it.
Slay.
Uh-oh. Well, I'm going to say, I was there for Tilda Swinton, okay?
Yeah, and I will say that too. Like, obviously a movie is made up of like hundreds of people who are working on this project, and it would be a shame to discredit all of those people's work just because one person is an awful person.
Okay, that's exactly my view on it.
I will say though, I don't know if you feel the same way. When it comes to directors and writers, that's when I have a really hard time with it because I'm like, I don't think it's possible to separate the art from the artist when you literally are the person whose perspective we are seeing.
The lens, yeah.
Yeah.
That
Like,
makes sense. Like, I would never watch a Woody Allen film.
yeah, exactly. Especially because, like, he literally writes material that is, like, pedophilic in it.
I would also never watch it because he's just bad at it.
Slay. And that's the tea.
And his movies are flops.
Yeah. So that's how I feel. Like, I will never watch a Roman Polanski film. I'm not interested in that.
How are those people still alive is the thing. Like, they have to be so fucking old. How are they not dead?
Yeah. Only the good die young.
Shout
out to Henry Kissinger. R.I.P.
He died so young. Was he like 90?
He was 100. He was freaking 100.
Damn.
Anywho, that's a team.
Yeah, so I wanted to give a disclaimer about that.
Yeah, I guess we really don't have a debate. It sounds like we're very aligned, actually.
Yeah, literally. Well, so you know what it is? I think I was interpreting even I think it's a matter of semantics for me of like, should we separate the art from the artist? Like, no, you can't. Because, like, when I look at Ezra Miller, I'm thinking of that.
Yeah.
But, like, I thought you were saying, like, we can't support any art that the artist is somehow involved in at all.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, well, you know, if I'm watching a movie, there's so many other people involved.
Yeah.
That, like, I don't want their contributions basically to go down because of, like, one person's terrible behavior.
I think it really depends. Like,
it does depend. There's a bit of a sliding scale.
Yeah, honestly, for sure. Yeah. And, like, in terms of person, like, do I really want to watch a Kevin Spacey movie now? Not really.
But is 7 still really good?
Yeah. 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 So it's like that sort of thing where, I don't know. But, like, I think, again, I don't know. With, like, Woody Allen, like, it's just funny when people reference Woody Allen when it comes to that debate, because I'm like, he's literally dating a 17-year-old in one of his films. Like, how did you not see in one of his movies? I think it's Annie Hall. It like opens with like a scene in a classroom with like children in like BDSM clothes. Like, how?
You know what's crazy though? I think it's like because truly like at that era of time, it was just such a different culture. I mean, fucking Priscilla was with Elvis and she was 14 and nobody was like, that's weird. They were like, we're so jealous.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? True. It's just the times have finally caught up to morals.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah. Well, I think though, like, we're trying to be as responsible as we can by saying, you know, even, hey, this person is in the movie we're covering, we don't support them.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, we definitely do not support
We definitely do not.
There you go.
Yeah.
We'll say. I think that was an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Thanks for
I would listen to this.
Yeah. Okay, well, should we close off with our weekly goals?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to go first?
I don't think I've ever gone first. So you know what? I want to go first.
Okay, say.
Okay. I was just joking. So, because I actually do have a goal.
Oh, okay.
And it's more kind of like, I guess, resolution related a little bit.
Okay.
Because I was walking past East Village Cinema, as one white girl does.
Yeah.
And
which, for those of you who don't know, is an independent. Well, I don't know if it's independent because it's owned by the Angelica. But it's a
small theater.
It's a small theater that plays a lot of cool independent movies. Yeah. And smaller.
And I was looking at the little marquee and I recognized a lot of them and I'd seen a couple of them, but there was like one or two that I had never even heard of. And I was like, you know what? I really want to watch like smaller stuff that's not so mainstream, because I've really been watching a lot, obviously because of this too, been watching a lot of movies I haven't seen before, but I want to like, you know, I want to see more. I went and this applies too for me for music and books as well, because I went to the bookstore and, you know, there are books so many I'd heard of that I do want to read, or like I'm like, maybe I'll give that a chance because I've heard of that, whether through TikTok or my friends or just reviews somewhere. And then I was like, you know what, no, I want to like go through the shelves and I want to find books that aren't big in some way, that I haven't heard of. That doesn't necessarily mean they're small, because like one of them I picked is literally like won the Nobel Prize in literature, so obviously it's not niche.
What book?
I don't remember what it's called. It's like it's like by a Polish author.
Oh, okay.
But I don't remember. It's like a longish title. Drag Them Over Her Bones or something. It's a long title. Anyway, but so I was like, I want to read more books that I'm just like, okay, by smaller authors, less marketed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. That's
Sport
a really
small.
good goal.
Yeah.
Resolution.
That's mine.
I love that. I think that's like, I feel like I have such a narrow pool of like media that I've seen, and so much of it is like American and pretty modern. And so like, I would love to be able to watch more movies that like most people haven't seen.
Yeah, I think that's also because I started watching some stuff that was subtitled more, and I was like, it's like, yeah. And then also even two of the books I got were translations.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I feel on top of the world. I feel like I'm really helping.
Hell yeah. I guess this is a very small goal, but I'll just set it just to have one. But I don't know if I told you this yet, or maybe I did. But I did tell you that a resolution of mine that I really want to keep for 2024 is at some point I want to take an improv class.
Yes.
And that is the most terrifying thing on the planet for me. I hate improv. It makes me get nervous poops every time I even talk about it. But I am going to do it. But I thought maybe it would be nice for me, like UCB, Upright Citizens Brigade, they have like a whole guidebook, and it's like the curriculum for the class, and they encourage you to read parts of it when you take their first one-on-one class. So I was like, okay, that might be nice to order the book and read it before I take a class, just so I like feel like I have some understanding of what I'm going to be learning, so I'm not just like thrust in head first.
Although it would be apt for improv to be thrust in head first.
That's not how I work. Hence why I don't do it.
Can I just say though, Upright Citizens Brigade, now that you've said it out loud, like it sounds like a political movement.
It really does.
It sounds like my book, which deals with like partisans in like World War II Croatia, that sounds like a branch of those.
That's
the Upright Citizens Brigade.
I love that.
Like, are they fighting a little rebellion war?
Yeah, they are.
Against non-funny people.
Bro, Lela and I went to an open mic night the other day.
I don't want to talk about it.
It was crazy.
It was crazy.
I only feel okay laughing about it because some of the things these people said were so wildly offensive and just not funny at all.
It's actually like their brain should be checked out for thinking that was funny. Like that type of joke where it's like, there are many times Mariah and I looked at each other like, where's the joke?
Yeah. It was just like
that's
saying
the joke?
Crazy, not good or racist thing and being like,
I think at one point I looked over at you and I was like, this is just two people talking.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Literally. Anywho, so I got the book. I have it. So I guess I'd love to start reading that for this week. And I guess we're going to take a little break just because the holidays are coming up for us. So I guess maybe I could give myself one more goal. I guess, no. This is what I'll do. Because it's going to be a couple weeks, my next goal will be to finish the book by the time we record the podcast.
Mine is actually, I'm going to add like a specificity to mine. I want to watch a Croatian subtitled film. I don't think I've ever seen any Croatian cinema.
Wait, I would love that. Yeah. Maybe we can do like a one day like
Heritage Day.
Yeah, like a Croatian episode and a Bollywood episode.
Mine's gonna be a lot sadder.
Mine will be long, very long.
You don't hear a lot about like, oh yeah, you seen the Croatian movie recently? Well, they got a big booming industry over there. I mean, I gotta do some research, but I'm allowed to talk shit about it.
Yeah,
I am Croatian.
Yes, you are. Well, thanks so much for listening
and watching.
And we'll see ya next week, which happens to be the week before Valentine's Day.
Oh.
And so we're switching things up.
Wait.
Because we're watching one of my favorite movies, but Lela has already seen it.
I'm just going to pretend I have it.
But it's so good that we have to talk about it.
I'll happily rewatch.
Literally one of my favorite movies of all time. I've seen it probably more than I've seen any other movie.
Even Singing in the Rain?
100%.
Okay.
Actually, I don't know about that.
Oh.
I'm probably exaggerating, but it's funny when I see this movie, I can't just watch it once. I need to watch it at least twice in like 2 weeks. So I've seen this a lot.
Crazy.
Okay. It's How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Which did have its TikTok viral moment last.
It really did. I remember that.
Summer.
Everyone was like, look at this movie, this niche movie that everyone saw.
So
I'm excited to be convinced by you to make it one of my favorites, basically.
Oh my god. It's so good. It might also just be because of Matthew McConaughey, but I don't care. Well, goodbye.
Goodbye.
See ya.